I wouldn't be surprised if we get the next Nintendo console in a year or two, which means we're probably going to get new games in all of Nintendo's core franchises. So that leads me to question Smash Bros. I genuinely have no idea how it can be improved at this point. Should Nintendo really start from scratch after this game already has so much stuff in it? I mean, that seems like a bit of a waste, so I feel like we're gonna get Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Deluxe. Now, what would that entail? Well, at the most basic level, I imagine it would have all the DLC included, plus some new stuff. It's kind of in the same situation that Mario Kart 8 is right now, where a brand new game just doesn't make sense at the moment. So if this were to happen, what new content would be added? And is this video sponsored by Squarespace? Why, yes it is, but more on that later. Let's go ahead and start with the character roster. I still open this thing up and I get almost intimidated. It's just so freaking massive, in the best way possible. So I feel like we would only get like 5 new characters and maybe 3 echoes. Primarily because that would round the roster up to 90 characters and make things nice and even. Now, what would those first 5 new characters be? My first pick is gonna be Waluigi. Now, yes, I know he's already an assist trophy in the game, but that doesn't mean he can't become a character still. This would unironically be a great fit. Wario's been in Smash for a while, and it's sad that his brother hasn't accompanied him yet. My second pick would be Crash Bandicoot. I think a lot of people were kind of expecting him to show up after how insane the roster was getting by the end, so it's a little surprising he never made it. I mean, he looks like a Nintendo character. We've gotten a bit of a Crash resurgence over the past few years. I think it's about time he joins the ranks with the other company mascots like Mario, Sonic, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Sora, and so on. My third pick is Rex from Xenoblade. Sakurai wanted Rex to be in the game for quite a while, and it hasn't happened yet. And yes, people would be very upset because it's another anime sword fighter, but Nintendo got a Nintendo. Look, if Twitter doesn't get mad at least one of these characters, they're doing something wrong. My fourth pick has gotta be another Pokemon, of course, from the newest generation, and I could see it being Fuecoco. However, I've got a really cool idea on how they could integrate this one and make it vastly different from the other Pokemon. At certain damage levels, he'll evolve into his next evolution, which makes him stronger and have different special attacks. So let's say he reaches 40%. Fuecoco evolves into Crocolore. At 70%, he evolves into Skeledirge. I know this idea is kind of similar to Lucario, getting stronger the higher his damage is, but the idea of evolving at higher percentages could be really fun. And for the fifth and final pick, it's gotta be a banger to end things strong. I feel like the only choice here is Master Chief from Halo. I know that Halo doesn't have as nearly as strong of a presence nowadays, but he was the Microsoft mascot for several years. Smash Bros. Already had so many iconic mascot characters, so if they added Crash Bandicoot as well as Master Chief, they would just tie the ribbon perfectly. As for the Echo Fighters, I feel like adding in 3 wouldn't be too much work. They'd probably go with a couple of safe picks, and maybe one curveball. So for starters, I could definitely see an Octoling being an Echo. Splatoon is ridiculously popular now, people are massive fans of both the Inklings and Octolings. I don't think much would need to be changed here besides their appearances obviously and voices. I could also see Zero become an Echo for Mega Man. Now, I know he does have different moves in the original games and is already an assist trophy, but it would still be a really solid pick. And for the final Echo Fighter, this one almost feels necessary at this point, which is Ms. Pac-Man. We've had Pac-Man for a couple games now, his costumes don't use Ms. Pac-Man at all, so she only seems like an appropriate pick. I know licensing is really wonky because Namco doesn't own the entirety of Ms. Pac-Man, and At Games owns the royalty contract, but Sakurai managed to work with Disney to get Sora in, so anything is possible. I'd also like to bring up Squad Strike. This mode is so damn cool since it allows you to pick 3 or 5 different fighters and they replace your stocks. This is a simple yet fantastic idea, and it's really silly that it's allocated as a separate mode. This could easily be integrated into just regular Smash matches and would drastically change up the strategies. It's so similar to the regular Smash, so there's really no reason for it to be its own mode. They could very easily slap this into the rule set, or have a toggle on the character select screen where you could turn squad mode on or off. Custom Smash is another mode that I feel like most people forget about, and that's because it feels a little limited with its options, as weird as that sounds. The main thing is the body section. You can only hold 6 of the 70 plus items. Why not let us pick and choose any item combination we want? How hysterical would it be if everyone had Pokeball spawn in their hand every 5 seconds, or everyone takes turns getting final smashes back to back, or everybody's got a permanent home run bat? You can't tell me that wouldn't be at least a little fun. Next, we have the stages. There's already over 100, so I honestly don't think we really need any new ones. If anything, the missing stages from the previous games would be great to add. These include Planet Zebes, Sector Z, Icicle Mountain, Mushroom Kingdom, Mute City, Poke Floats, Flat Zone, Rumble Falls, Pictochat, Flat Zone 2, Rainbow Road, Pac Maze, Jungle Hijinks, Pyrosphere, Woolly World, Orbital Gate Assault, and Miiverse. There's definitely some picks here that might make little to no sense to bring back, so let's just go over them. First off, Flat Zone and Flat Zone 2 would probably be the only stages to not return, simply because Flat Zone X already includes both of their level layouts. Planet Zebes could work though, because its layout is fairly different to Brinstar, and yeah, I know they're both really similar, but Brinstar's pretty tiny, and there's breakable stage pieces that aren't included in the original version. Sector Z, on the other hand, is virtually the same as Corneria, besides being much larger and having a couple other tiny differences. However, I still think it could be included. You know how you can select Omega and Battlefield versions of each stage? Why not have a Smash 64 option of Corneria where it's the same thing, but it's retextured to look like Sector Z? The only issue with this is that a lot of players probably wouldn't even know this was added in because it'd be hidden, but I also have a solution to the stage UI that we'll get to in a bit. As for the other stages I mentioned, I don't see why they couldn't be an issue to include them. Poke Floats, Pictochat, Rainbow Road, Pac Maze, Jungle Hijinks, Woolly World, and Orbital Gate Assault are generally loved by most people. All of these would be awesome to bring back, although the main challenge with this would be Jungle Hijinks. That's because there's 2 layers to that stage, and that might cause problems with the stage morphing feature. However, I think there's a fairly simple solution. Jungle Hijinks goes through rotations where you're only allowed in the foreground, background, or both at the same time. Simply only allow this stage to morph when the cycle has all players in the foreground, and boom, problem solved. Now, of course, I have to mention Icicle Mountain, Mute City, Rumble Falls, and Pyrosphere. These stages are generally disliked by most people, but I do think you could kind of fix some of them. Icicle Mountain and Rumble Falls could scroll a lot slower, or if you simply turn off stage hazards, those stages just wouldn't move at all. With Mute City, you could turn off stage hazards and remove all the cars from the stage entirely. Pyrosphere is really tricky because Ridley is a boss, yet Ridley is playable in this game. So I guess in a sense, that would be a little odd. But Smash Bros. Doesn't really need to make sense. It never has, honestly. Nobody's throwing a fit because 8 people can play as Dr. Mario, so I don't see why a Ridley boss and Ridley the character is any different. So I think bringing this stage back would be great if you could remove Ridley entirely by turning him off with stage hazards. Now, the last stage I want to talk about is Miiverse, and I've actually got a bit of an interesting concept in general for Battlefield stages. It is incredible that every stage in the game has Omega and Battlefield versions as options, but why not go the extra mile? Smash 64, Melee, Brawl, and Smash 4 all have their own distinct versions of Battlefield and Final Destination. Why not give us the option to be able to toggle through each version of this same stage? I personally love Melee's Final Destination aesthetic the most out of all the games, so it'd be great to be able to play it. And while they're at it, throw in Miiverse as well. I'm sure Nintendo still has access to every Miiverse post that was ever made, so they could handpick a few thousand of them and add them into that stage to make it function again. Or heck, give us the ability to make Miiverse posts again just for this stage and share them online. We can still do this in Splatoon 2, so there's no reason it isn't possible in Smash Bros. Ultimate. So with all that said and done, let's just theoretically say that we do actually get all these stages. There's really only one problem. It would be almost impossible to see them on the menu. So it only makes sense to include additional tabs. So the first tab could show all the stages at once, the second one shows all of Smash 64's, the third Melees, the fourth Brawls, the fifth 3DS's, the sixth Wii U's, the seventh Ultimates, and the eighth custom stages. This would do wonders to help with organization, especially if someone wanted to marathon all the stages from their favorite older Smash title. So we've gone over a lot of the biggest aspects of the game, but now let's talk single player. It's definitely not the best of the series, but it already offers quite a bit. I guess we'll start by briefly going over World of Light. It's a massive single player mode that basically boils down to event matches, I guess. Each battle somewhat represents the spirit they're attached to, and while it's a fun idea, it gets old after a while and it's way too long. I still think it warrants being in the port, although I wouldn't add anything to it. I wouldn't even suggest adding in new spirits, there's already so many to collect. With that said though, adding a small little description for each of the spirits would be appreciated. There's so many of these where I have no idea who or what they are, so that little extra bonus would be nice. For this next idea, I need you guys to hold on to your horses. What if Sakurai brought back the Subspace Emissary? Bringing this back might sound like a huge undertaking, but here's the thing. If the cutscenes and levels are simply retextured without anything else new, it would save them a lot of time. So many people love this mode. All the characters from Brawl are already in Ultimate. This would be an incredibly unique opportunity to bring this mode back. And instead of using stickers to power up your characters, just use the spirits instead. They can function exactly the same as they do in World of Light, but you slap them on the characters' trophies instead. So that's another chunk of work that's already ready to go. And heck, maybe there could be a few bonus levels that add in the new characters, but I don't even think that would be necessary. The main thing that would need to be updated is to make it a bit more clear on how the Great Maze works, because it's very confusing if you don't understand how the map system works. Like, honestly, just a basic screen showing what the map does and why you warp to different areas after saving a character would work like a charm. Now, Classic Mode is already fantastic, so I don't think they would need to touch anything up here. Although if I wanted them to throw in anything, perhaps a throwback to snag trophies could return, but instead of trophies, you hit a few spirits into the middle to collect them. Mob Smash is already great too. The only thing I could imagine them adding on is Rival Smash from Smash 4. It's basically the same mode, but you fight a rival at the same time, so that could be neat. The Mii Fighter stuff is great. Honestly, there's already so many in the game that I don't think any more need to be added. It'd just be nice to have all the DLC Mii Fighters included, but that's about it. Next, let's go over Stage Builder. While the controls are a little finicky when it comes to making your own stage, for the most part, it's extremely flexible, and we've gotten some hilarious stages from this. I've got a couple ideas here that could potentially add hundreds of hours of fun to the game. I'm sure you're all aware of Target Test and Board the Platforms. These modes from the older games have been long forgotten about because the character roster is so big, and I completely understand why they've been cut. Here's the thing though, Stage Builder could be the solution to bring them back. Why not allow the player to make their own target test or board the platform stage and post it online? They can make space on Stage Builder's UI to add targets or platforms, and it's very easy to create moving pieces and paths already. The inclusion only makes sense if you ask me. There could be leaderboards for the best times, and maybe some sort of option to limit which characters can play the stage would really be the cherry on top. I kinda doubt something like this would actually be added, but just imagine going online and being able to download hundreds of target test and board the platform stages. Also, I gotta ask, where's the boss rush? There's so many great bosses in Ultimate, but there's no way to fight them back to back. I feel like this would be a very simple inclusion and a no-brainer. And while we're at it, Coin Launcher would be another great mode to bring back. Although obviously this time it'd just be a way to collect spirits. Heck, throw in snacks and support items, or anything else that's used in World of Light. And the last thing involving the single player is Smash Run. This mode is sadly trapped on Smash for 3DS, which is a damn shame because it's really fun. Bringing this back would be fantastic, especially if you could play the mode in co-op, whether that's local or online. Once again, I don't think anything new would need to be added here, outside of remaking the textures. And now to finalize things, the vault could be improved in a few areas too. Something easy would be adding all the reveal trailers for the new characters in movies. These trailers are works of art, and they definitely deserve to have a spotlight. I also guess they could add more challenges? I mean, there's already over 100, but adding another board that involves the DLC and any new characters would be cool. As for other modes, well, they might as well bring back masterpieces. Now, I know that sounds completely redundant, but hear me out here. Let's say that someone gets the game, they don't have Switch Online, and they want to try Metroid on NES. I don't know why you'd want to play that, but you could. So that person would play essentially a demo, and when the time runs out, they're offered two options. Go back to Smash Bros, or go to the eShop to purchase Switch Online for the full game. And for people that already have Switch Online, having specific games highlighted would encourage newer players to try the old games that they may have missed out on. At this point, there's a couple hundred games on their service, and I doubt that most people have tried that many of them. So, do you remember when I said, and is this video sponsored by Squarespace? Why, yes it is, but more on that later. That's right, guys, it's ad time! Woo! Anyway, on to Squarespace, which is today's sponsor. They're the best and most powerful place to create the slickest websites. You can connect your audience and generate revenue through members-only content, manage members, send emails, and leverage audience insight, all on one easy-to-use platform. You can make a community on your website with a fully integrated commenting system that supports threaded comments, replies, and likes. Use their blogging tools to categorize, share, and schedule your posts too. And that's not even including Squarespace extensions, a new third-party tool that lets you manage inventory, promote products, streamline bookkeeping, reconcile and file sales tax, and ship items across the globe. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Nathaniel to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Links in the description. So what do you think? Will Smash Bros. Ultimate get a port with some of these features? Will it be a whole new game? Let me know down below. But for now, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching.